get on to news that have grabbed global headlines for the last 8 days. Novak Djokovic will not be at Melbourne Park on Monday to begin his quest to defend his Australian Open title. The Aussie government, through Immigration Minister Alex Hawke, revoked the 20-time Grand Slam champion's visa for a second time. This means the Serbian faces deportation from down under, with just 3 days before the season-opening Grand Slam gets underway. However, the 34-year-old Serbian can still launch another legal challenge to remain in the country. His lawyers are expected to appeal the cancellation in the Federal Circuit and Family Court, as they successfully did after the first cancellation on Monday. Let's get some reaction to this now. We're joined by Jeff Coetzee, who is an ATP tennis coach. A very good afternoon to you, Jeff, at least from South Africa. So many feel the real loser in this saga is the sport of tennis and the fans. Would you agree?
Hi, good evening, Morena. Yeah, I think definitely you said it there. It's definitely the sport that's going to be hurting the most. And, you know, from the tennis perspective, we all just want to get on with it and focusing on the first Grand Slam of the year. But it is a tough one for Djokovic as well, because he's going through this and he had his preparation, and now for the second time he's been denied. So, yeah, they're busy with the court, and I think they're going to come back again tomorrow. I was just going through some of the hearing that they had just a few hours ago, getting his team, getting everything in place. But I think this time is going to be a tough one for Djokovic.
And you say it's going to be a tough one for him, Jeff. Word coming out that we're hearing was that he had actually given up this time around, and instead it was his legal team that told him that he needs to fight on. He had given up to a point where apparently some of his team members had already started making their way out of Australia.
Yeah, you know, it's really a tough one, but at the end of the day, you know, I think, Morena, with all the evidence, the new evidence that's been produced, it does make sense. I know just chatting to some of the Australians here, and especially in Victoria, they are really frustrated, and you know, they've had a tough couple of years, and a lot of people not being able to come back for funerals and all that. So they are very frustrated. I'm sure they would love to see Djokovic go, which is not very often the case, where you have such a champion and where you see a guy like that. But unfortunately, rules are rules.
Athletes don't want to find themselves putting any kind of random substance in their body. They are always closely watched as to what it is they put in their body, Jeff. And Djokovic has repeatedly said that he doesn't want to risk his well-built body by taking a vaccine he knows very little about. Is that not a good enough reason for the Australian authorities to allow him to play? You know, because, I mean, what else can he do?
Yeah, I mean, Morena, that becomes really a personal decision. You know, I think where we are in this world, it's only really 97% of the men's top 100 that's vaccinated, so only 3 that's not. Yeah. So the ATP does encourage everybody to be vaccinated, and I think it's going to be more and more difficult if you're not, to be able to travel and be able to do what you want to do. But I have respect for him, how he goes about things. That's why he's such a great champion, and for not putting anything in your body. But ultimately, it becomes a country-to-country decision. If they decide you have to be vaccinated, and 93% of Australians are vaccinated.
The 2022 tennis season has only but begun, Jeff, and we've already got such a landmark case before us. There's still 3 other Grand Slams to come. There are a number of ATP competitions, ATP 250, ATP 500, ATP 1000, all around the world that are still to come. This case could potentially set the standard for other events, particularly the Grand Slams going forward. Do you see France, England, and the United States doing exactly what Australia have done here?
I think so, and I think not just the Grand Slams, like you said, you mentioned there the thousands as well. I think it's going to be country to country, and I think that's going to be the case. If you just read the news and everything over and the different countries, you need to be vaccinated. So it's going to be very rare if you're not, unless you have an unbelievable case. And is this going to be the norm going forward every single time? I don't know. But I think, like I said, I'm not a person. I won't be able to judge Djokovic. That's his personal decision. But also knowing that if you want to become and make history, sometimes you're going to have to do what you you don't really want to do, maybe you have to get vaccinated to be able to do that. Or if that country allows you, then it puts a lot of pressure on you, and you have to win that Grand Slam. So only time will tell. But I think if Australia is doing this, I think the rest will follow.
You said at the beginning that this does hurt the sport of tennis to some extent, the dignity, the integrity, the pride of the game. But some could say the absence of Djokovic gives other players a better chance of winning the first Grand Slam of the year, which then should make it a little more exciting because it'll be open cards.
No, 100%. You know, like you have your Djokovic, Nadal, and Federers. You have Djokovic still age 34, Nadal 35 here. They probably have another few years, but you have already Medvedev that's won a Grand Slam. You have Thiem that's won a Grand Slam. You have Zverev knocking on the door. I mean, I think it's also good time for these other players to step up and to be able to win the Grand Slams, you know, because ultimately, as much as we don't want these players to go, time does go on, and it will be very good for the sport for other people to win Grand Slams.
Craig Tiley, Jeff, obviously would have loved to have the 9-time champion there because it could be said that he's the biggest attraction. He's the drawing card for this competition, as he also was chasing Grand Slam number 21, that record. So would you say this will be a huge knock commercially and from a marketing point of view for Tennis Australia?
Yeah, maybe to a set point, but you know, Australians, like South Africans, we love our sport. You know, 50% of the tickets has been sold, especially for the upcoming matches, and it's not going to be a full capacity crowd because obviously with the cases and stuff, they're going to monitor to that on a daily basis. But I still think, you know, like there's going to be a lot of people showing up if Djokovic is not there. There's other players there. There's also Australians. Ash Barty, which is here, she wants to win a Grand Slam here. There's a lot still at stake here for other players, and I think people will still support that even without Djokovic. Maybe you might not have a full stadium, but I think it will still be reasonably full.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It gets underway on Monday, does the Australian Open. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us here on eNCA. That is ATP tennis coach Jeff Coetzee coming to us live from Australia, and that is